The main purpose of this session, we were Rajeshwari and me and another person, Janaki. I don't know if she's joined us, but we were talking about internships for you. I want to go a little bit through what it looks like for to be an intern, both from a perspective of an employer and from the perspective of students. What I'm going to tell you is from my perspective, based on my experience, and it's based on the US experience, and you might think that it doesn't apply to India. However, what I'm going to tell you is going to be so general that many of the things, basically people are the same wherever you go. So whatever I tell you is going to be fairly general and applicable even in India. You do have to realize, though, there will be small variations, and you have to account for that, and some of it will address based on your questions as well. Okay, so what I'm going to talk first about is internships, landing an internship. Okay, what is an internship? I know many of you already have some ideas about what an internship is. It varies between second year, third year, and some people even do internships between as well while doing the third year. Okay, when I say second year students, you finished your second year and you are ready for an internship in the summer, during the summer. Similarly, for the third year, most of the internships happen after the third year. And I explain why that is the case. I'll also keep this fairly informal. If you guys feel there is something that you don't understand, you need to stop me. This is the best time for you to stop and make it interactive, because I'm the friendliest employer you'll ever find. Okay. So feel free to stop me, raise your hand, or speak up and ask questions. Okay, typically internships last a minimum of 8 weeks, full time. So we're talking about roughly 300 hours. And in fact, if somebody cannot give us 8 weeks of their time, we ask them not even to bother applying for internship. And this is the companies that I have been in, and other US companies that I work closely with. Okay, and generally this is the case. Of course, as I said, there will be some exceptions. And the exceptions could be, for instance, some companies and colleges work towards one-year internships. For example, Georgia Tech, they call it a co-op program. You basically take leave of absence from your college and you go work for a year at another company as an intern. And it could even be 6 months, and sometimes it could be 3 months. Okay, but the minimum is 8 weeks. Typically it is 12 weeks. Minimum is 8 weeks. When I say typically, about 80% of the interns that I work with last for about 12 weeks, 80 to 90%. Very rarely, in fact, in my entire history of having worked with probably 30 or 40 interns, I know only one case where we had 8-week internship, and that was an exceptional situation because of as a family constraints. Okay, so that's the length of a typical internship. We expect that you'll be learning a lot, and you'll also be working very hard. You get to feel for what it is like to be in the company. That is the purpose of the internship. And if you're really good and talented, what I mean by good is you're working hard, you had a solid foundation and the job that you're performing, you may get to launch a feature or even a product at the end of internship. We don't expect you to do great things because we know you're college students. And I'm talking about students who finished 3 years of college, not after 2 years. After 2 years, it's even harder to launch a product feature or even publish a paper. If you're in a research group, then you could be publishing a paper, but it's very unusual to publish a paper at the end of one internship. I had one intern who was a PhD student who came for 1 year, worked for a while, didn't produce much that year. Then he came back the following summer, and then he was able to produce a paper. So it took him almost 6 months to produce a paper. It is a significant investment for the employer, meaning people like me. It typically costs me something like 30% of a senior engineer's time during that period. So if you come and work as an intern for 3 months, I pretty much write off meaning my senior engineer has to write off about 1 month of his time. 50% is a little bit of an exaggeration, but 30% is very typical. Okay, what happens after the internship? You come back. Managers and some companies encourage you to come back for internship. I don't. I discourage it. And the reason for that is, and I'll get to that later again in the presentation, I believe that it's in the best interest of both the company and the student to get as many different internships as possible. Of course, for undergraduates, it's a little harder because we typically give internships only after the third year and occasionally after the second year. So the maximum you can get is 2 internships during your college, during the course of your entire college course, okay? And there's no such thing as a part-time internship. I know some people say, can we work part-time during the semester? We don't encourage that. I've never seen that happen. And I've actually seen people try that and both parties get disappointed. The company gets disappointed and the student gets disappointed. So there's no such thing as a part-time internship. We may have a part-time job, but that is very different from an internship. I believe that the internship at the end of the third year is the most important internship for both the intern and the company. For the company, because you come and intern with us, and what happens at the end of the internship is, I really liked you, for instance, and then I tell you, okay, we'll offer you a job right now. Are you willing to come here? If you accept it, we'll keep a job for you when you finish your 4th year. Okay, that's the reason why for the company, the third year interns are very important. For the intern as well, you have enough background, you have enough foundation. You're taking a lot of classes and you understand what is going on in the project. You're able to contribute a lot more. You're a lot more confident. That's why it's important for you too. And second year internship is more about learning. You don't really get as much benefit out of second year internship, but the third year is very useful for both parties. As I said before, internship in the middle of the year is very rare. It has to be supported by the college and you have to have the time. You basically have to delay your graduation. When all those things line up, they're all perfectly aligned, then internships in the middle of the year are possible. As I said, there are always exceptions. And you know, if you're an exception, you will know. What I mean by an exception is you're extremely smart, you have solid foundation, and you're able to get into a research organization like Microsoft Research or Google Research. And candidates like that are very rare, and you're an exception, and you know that already. In fact, this presentation would be useless to you if you're an exception. Any questions? We'll pause here for a minute. No questions?
Please feel free to come up with your questions. Shrilikita, Piyush, you have any questions? Arun?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
All the second years.
Okay, so let's move on then. What do the employers want from an intern? For me, as an employer, and most employers, this is how they feel about interns. It's the most reliable and cost-effective way to hire employees. It's reliable and cost-effective because, typically when we hire people, we look at the resume. I get a pile of 100 resumes, and they're filtered through by some software. And then I get reduce it to maybe 20 resumes. And we interview them for 5 hours, and we have to make a decision at the end of 5 hours based on those interviews. Whereas with an intern, we have 3 months to evaluate you, understand whether we're going to work together, you're a good team player, or you're a fast learner, you're a hard worker, you have a strong work ethic. All of these things we learn about you in 3 months. And so when we make a decision at the end of 3 months, we're very rarely wrong about the decision to hire you and bring you back as an employee. And that's why we like internships. Okay. There's also an opportunity to groom and coach prospective hires. What I mean is that, you're fresh out of college, you don't know what it is like to work in another company. So we tell you what it should be like, and you learn our way of doing things. And so you like you'll be a good hire for us because you're already familiar with our way of doing things, our culture and our technology or products, all of those, right? Because we don't have much expectation, as I told you before. At the end of the internship, I'm not expecting much from you. They're not, if you ship a product feature, it's extremely good. That's the best case scenario, but typically we don't expect much. We also expect you to be an advocate for the company and culture. What it means is that when you go out, even if you don't come back to our company as an employee, we hope that you go back and tell us how great our company was. In fact, we had one case where the girl was interning at one of the companies here, and her father was later on interviewing for the job, a senior executive level position at the company. And they asked him, what makes you want to join our company? And he said, well, my daughter interned here and she really loved your company. So that's the reason why I'm going to join the company. That's a great story. We often don't hear stories like that, but we hope that when you intern at a company, the experience is so good that you're going to speak highly of the company. And that's very valuable for the company. Okay, we get free marketing from you guys. And it also gives us, my employees, for instance, I have, for instance, somebody with 3 years of experience and they want to become managers. And if they demonstrate that they're able to mentor an intern really well, then they're on the management track. Right? So it gives an opportunity for us as well to train my team to be mentors and leaders. And of course, we get brownie points from the colleges. The colleges love us if we hire interns because we're literally training you, right, at our expense. We're training you at our expense. The colleges, universities, even the community likes. When I say community, if you look at, for instance, Bellevue as a community where Microsoft is based at, they appreciate all the business that, they of course probably pay taxes. They appreciate all the business that Microsoft brings to the community. So this is what the employers get. And what do the interns get from the internship? I took a shot at it, but I'm sure you have ideas. I want you to tell me what you think you're going to get out of an internship. The three obvious things I put there. One, of course, is you can put it on your resume and it looks good when you're looking for a job. People might be impressed by internship at a big company, for instance. In fact, just having an internship would be better than not having any experience. And you want to gain industry experience. The third bullet item, most of you may not have thought about this. It is about validating your goals. What I mean by that is, some people say they just want, somebody told them to go study computer science. You don't know what it's like to be a computer scientist. I'll tell you a story about one of my interns a while back, about 5 years ago. This guy studied physics and he applied for an internship as a software engineer in a company. And the manager came complaining to me that this guy is not very productive. He doesn't do what we tell him to do. And so I went and talked to him, the intern, and said, what is going on? Are you not interested in this internship? Said, well, I never thought computer science programming would be like this. A lot of grunt work. You understand what I mean by grunt work, right? A lot of routine work. Said, it's not as fun. I had to do code reviews and I had to fix bugs. All that is not very interesting to me. I said, then you can be a software engineer. So what he did is after the internship, he started working in a research lab. He didn't want to be a software engineer. So that's an example of somebody who used the internship as an experience to figure out that that is really not what he wants to do for a career. So that's what I mean by validation of your goals. So internship, use that experience to figure out, is this really, it's okay to say this is not, the company is great, but I don't like this kind of work. Maybe I should change my major or do something else when I graduate. Or you might not even like the company. You might have heard of great things. Like, for instance, my son worked at Uber one summer, and he said, I will never work at Uber again. Uber is notorious. This was before the new CEO. Under the old CEO, it was notorious. They were sued by a lot of companies. And after working one summer, a lot of people said they would never go and work there again. Right? So that's a bad internship. Uber is, it's a rising, it was a great company to work for because it was very growing very fast. And a lot of people wanted to work there because the company was growing so rapidly. And when company is growing rapidly, you'll also grow rapidly. So a lot of people wanted to intern there, and so did my son. And he interned for one summer and he said he'll never work there again. So how do you get a good internship? We understand what internship is, and you want to get a good internship. We all understand that. The answer to that is you got to build a good resume and a cover letter. Because that's the reason why I want to talk about internships before talking about resumes.